In the heart of Fatima, thousands of faithful pass through every year. It is a pilgrimage site for the most devout of the Catholic Church. It is also a place where congregations from all over the world establish themselves to be close to the history of Our Lady of Fatima and the shepherd children.
Are you part of any congregation here at the church? What is a congregation?
But are they really Franciscans?
The diocese does not have official knowledge of them. Therefore, which means they are, for all intents and purposes, a private community. There has never been the process of their recognition. In fact, we have nothing that connects us to them.
Let's find out who they are, especially since the diocese has received complaints about this group that is not recognized in Portugal or in the Vatican. The group is staying at this hotel, Solar da Marta. The building stopped receiving guests during the pandemic. Today, there are about 14 women living here, including aspirants, nuns, and the Mother Superior. They have been here since June, when the hotel's owners lent them the space. The Diocese of Leiria Fatima received reports about the activities of this group founded in 2014, which identifies as the Family of the Immaculate Heart of Mary and St. Francis. The diocese says that the recruitment activity of young people to join the group has caused concern.
They are not of Portuguese origin nor European. Their religious institution comes from the Philippines as a public association of the faithful. And in our diocese, there has never been the process of their recognition.
The group wears a habit similar to that of other nuns present in Fatima, the Sisters of the Franciscan Congregation of the Immaculate. What are the main differences between this congregation, which is recognized by the Catholic Church, and this lay association of the faithful, which is not recognized?
It turns out they wear clothing that confuses them with these sisters who are recognized. It's a misunderstanding. The diocese wants to clarify.
The physical resemblance is undeniable, and the explanation might be closer than we imagine. And for this reason, we took advantage of the exit of two women from the hotel to learn more about this community.
We give legal help children needed. And prayer, we pray 5 hours a day.
The presence of this group in Fatima is not news to the diocese. In 2021, an email circulated warning that this is not a religious community, but a group founded in 2014 by 4 young Filipinas who left the Franciscan Sisters. And it is through the voice of these sisters, recognized by the Church, that the allegation of identity theft arose in 2019, but it was of no use.
No, but there was a split in Fransicans of the Immaculate. We are still the same people. Isabel, she's Joanne. And we are the founders of the family. We don't have our headquarters. For now, we are going to an association in the morning and then coming here when it's time for group. But why was there a split?
It's about the constitutions, isn't it? We prefer the traditional mass. We follow the more modern mass.
The traditional Mass you are referring to is actually called the Tridentine Mass, Anan Saus.
There was from Pope Francis a decision restricting the celebration in the so-called Tridentine Rite, which was in effect until 62. First, Pope Benedict XVI was in favor of an opening, trying with this to seek greater rapprochement and to build more unity. In fact, what resulted was a push deepening of divisions. Pope Francis, upon reaching this conclusion, restricted and returned everything to how it was before.
The Masses were restricted in 2021 and can only be celebrated with the proper authorization of each bishop, who is required to consult the Holy See. In Fatima, Bishop José Ornelas does not authorize it.
In our diocese, there is no permission for these celebrations.
Without permission, do they take place?
We are staying at a hotel owned by the father of one of our novices.
And before we get there, they have a chapel of St. Peter.
Where? Tridentine. The Mass at 8:30 a.m.
In the morning?
We marked it on the calendar, and one day later, here we are, minutes before the scheduled time. The door is closed. Nothing indicates that a Mass is going to take place here until this lady arrives and a priest opens the door for us. We go down the stairs and find ourselves facing a chapel and some nuns from the community.
The ceremony begins.
It's in Latin.
Is with the priest turned away from the assembly and facing the altar, but on the side of the assembly, and then with another set of rituals that were simplified by the reform of the Second Vatican Council. In other words, what is at issue here for some is returning to that environment.
4, I also use the argument saying that it is the most common language of the church and the language of the church. Transitioning to the language of each people is an opportunity for greater integration of the people, of communion, and it is just a means. The essence of the Christian ministry is celebrated all the same. For us, what is at stake is communion with, is accepting or not accepting the Second Vatican Council. It is accepting or not accepting the ministry of Pope Francis. That is what is at stake, and that is, let's say, a perspective that needs to be denounced.
Although denounced, this ritual considered ultra-conservative and outdated by the Catholic Church remains, after all.
There are no Tridentine Masses in parish churches because it is the place of the community.
As they are not in an ecclesial space, it's a hotel, not a church. It is not our responsibility.
After these reports reached the diocese, Bishop Jose Ornelas himself ended up taking the matter to the Vatican services.
And it is here that, in fact, one realizes that all this has too many difficulties to be left simply to the diocesan context, with connections in Italy and the Philippines. So the matter is also being monitored in Rome, because it is an atypical case.
And it becomes more atypical when the story of the founder of the Fransicans of the Immaculate is discovered, the Italian priest Stefano Manelli.
He is a founder of this new family chartu friar priest, Father Stefano Maria Manelli and Father Gabriele Maria Pelletine. Both friars began living together according to the order of Saint Francis and the Marian congregation in August 1970.
In 2015, the priest was accused of abuse and sexual harassment by nuns, friars, and former religious members. The Italian newspaper Corriere della Sera published testimonies from sisters mentioning blood pacts, that is, letters written in blood during the ritual requested by Father Manelli.
This postcard was written on June 15th, 1996, on the day when I made the solemn profession and received the vows.
It was indeed written with blood, and I wrote it, I remember, together with my fellow sisters. That is why it is called the Passion of Blood.
To the sexual scandals were added suspicions of misappropriation of large sums, 30 million euros in movable and immovable assets that might have been diverted from the congregation. But, despite the accusations of sexual violence, the Italian Public Prosecutor's Office dismissed the case, claiming that the statements from the former nuns were made too late. Now, after successive controversies, the 91-year-old founder is said to have distanced himself from the congregation he created, but he seems to maintain a connection with the dissident and ultra-religious group that is not recognized in Fatima. Strangely, it is in the country's most sacred place that this controversial but missing priest maintains contact with some young Portuguese women who visit this hotel close to the public. One of them is the daughter of this woman who lives in despair.
They commit acts that violate human rights. They force these young women to go without eating, with permanent fasting, causing them to faint constantly. They are forbidden from contacting their families whenever they want. They are seen crawling around the sanctuary with bleeding knees. And I fear for the physical and mental well-being of my daughter, because this is not, Fatima cannot be like this.